Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final episode of the 2023 Top 100 Players in the Draft. Today, we are going to be talking about the top 25 prospects because the draft is less than a week away. To say I'm excited is an understatement. I have been anticipating this draft. This is the most draft coverage I've ever done in my life, and I can't wait for the actual draft. Now, for those of you who haven't clicked off from that intro, thank you. Welcome back to the video. We are on the road to 100 subscribers, and we're trying to hit that by draft night. So if you could do me a huge solid and drop a subscribe to get us to 100, then I will shovel your driveway when it snows. And if you live in a state where it doesn't snow, then I will buy you Girl Scout cookies. And that is a promise. Anyway, let's get into our prospects. So for the top 25, I thought I would go a little bit more in depth because these are the big names of the draft, obviously. So not only will I be giving a more in-depth scouting report, but I also will be giving a few teams for each prospect that I think could potentially draft these guys, like where they could land in the draft, and or what teams would be most interested in them. Now, obviously, because it's the top 25 and there are 31 picks in the first round draft, the vast majority of these guys will end up going in the first round. There will be a few guys that go in the early second, but the vast majority of these guys will go in the first round. So, a lot of you guys watching out there, you know, man, a lot of you guys watching out there, be sure to stay tuned to see what players your favorite team could draft. Because, obviously, if you guys have been watching the channel, I do a lot of mock drafts. I do a lot of, draft simulation type stuff. So I do have, I think, a decent idea of where each player could land. So if you're interested in who your team could. So I have with me the top 25 no cards right here. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, number 25, I have Jordan Addison, the wide receiver out of USC. Listen, this guy is really crafty. He's really quick, runs really good routes. He's slippery after the catch. I'm not going to say he's too elusive or too dynamic, but he's slippery, right? And he's got really nice footwork. He's a really fundamentally sound wide receiver. He's about 5'11", 180 pounds on a good day. That's like saying I'm 6'1" on my Tinder profile. He plays, I think, a little smaller than he looks, and he lacks a little bit of play strength and physical. Corners kind of give him some trouble. I think some teams that could take him. You look at the Vikings over there at the mid 20s. The Bills at 27, I think, could use another receiver to complement Stephon Diggs. And then I think maybe early in the second round, you could see the Houston Texans trying to snatch him up. Next, number 24, I have DeJuan Jones, the tackle out of Ohio State. Guy's 6'8", 375. He's a big boy. He's huge. He's athletic. He's able to get to the second level and play downhill. But he did struggle a little bit with some penalties. And I think sometimes he oversets just a little bit. I think the earliest he can go, is to the Ravens at 22. I could also see maybe even the Commanders at 16. That would be a little bit of a push, but I could see it if that's the tackle they really like. I could see that, and then I could also see Jacksonville taking him over there at 24 as well. Next, number 23, and this is a guy that a lot of people have a lot of mixed opinions about, but hear me out and let me talk. Shit, I dropped my card. Hear me out. And, the sentence hear me out is never really followed up with anything good in real life, but just hear me out, all right? Nolan Smith, the edge from Georgia, he's 6'2", 240. He's a bit small, yes, but freak athlete. He's got really fast hands. He flies off the edge. This is one of those guys where if a blocking assignment is blown, he will teleport to the quarterback. I mean, that quarterback, it's an auto sack if he goes unblocked. He's freakishly fast. Again, he's a little small, so some people would say, oh, whatever. And, he did have a little bit of an injury history at Georgia. But I don't care, man. I go back and forth on Nolan Smith, but today y'all call me on a good day. So I have Nolan Smith, number 23. Again, being that he's a freakishly athletic edge rusher, the range of which he can get drafted is very high. I think he can go as high as Tennessee at 11. I think he can go as high as, maybe even Atlanta at number 8. I think New England could take him at 14. I can see him going top 10. I can see him going, in the 20s a little bit. I don't think he'll get past the 20s just because of how great he did at the Combine. Teams really do like guys that did well at the Combine. So, we'll have to see, but I really do think that he could go in the 10s or teens type of area. Another guy I really like that some people are a bit down on, and my number 2 prospect in this draft, Zay Flowers, the wide receiver out of Boston College. Listen, he's 5'9", he's about 180 pounds, really good yards after catch ability, really good in the open field. He's really good at that deep ball tracking, and I think his route running is also very nice as well. I think sometimes, He does struggle with a little bit of drops due to attentiveness. He's kind of turning his head, planning his next move before he fully catches the ball. And that's something that a lot of receivers have to work out. So I'm not too worried about that. And then I think he does obviously have he's a small guy, small frame, everything like that. So you do worry about his shit getting rocked by NFL caliber defenders. But I think some teams that could take him. I've heard New England really likes him. They're at 14. I could see the Chargers taking him. I could see the Giants going with him. I do think that this guy is a first round talent, and I do think that he will get taken in the first round, if that makes sense. Another receiver that again I have a mixed opinion about, but I'm just in a good mood today. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Detroit Lions downfall incoming that is really just making me smile and grin, but I'm having a good day so far today. So number 21, we're going to be optimistic about this guy, Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver out of TCU. Um, He's 6'3", about 210 pounds. He's got really good size, really good arm length. He's got great speed. He suffered from bad quarterback play at TCU. I mean, Max Dugan, however you say his name, was pretty bad. Let's just call a spade here. And then he does have also a really good catch radius as well. But unfortunately, like he's just inconsistent, right? He flashes greatness, but he doesn't consistently show it. And he needs to learn to use his frame better to his ability. And I think in the NFL with a really good receiver coach with NFL caliber quarterback play, I think you could squeeze all the juice out of Quentin. Pause. Um, you could get the most out of Quentin Johnson. Think about, and I'm not exactly comparing an apple to an apple here, but think about what they said about DK Metcalf coming out of the draft. Oh yeah, he's a freak athlete. Oh yeah, he's fast, he's big, whatever, whatever, whatever. Okay, well, he went to Seattle where they throw the ball deep and he learned to run a little bit better routes. Now, route running still isn't his forte, but he was able to maximize his skill set and he landed in a really good spot. If, Quentin Johnson goes to a place like the Chiefs or the Cowboys, I think that could be really good with him. Also, the Texans, I could see as well. They're going to have a rookie quarterback, I presume. So that could be a good fit as well. Next up, number 20 on my list, I have defensive tackle Brian Brsay out of Clemson. Now, if you guys remember, coming into college, he was the number one overall recruit in this class, higher than Bryce Young. So he was a highly, highly touted prospect. And I would say that he didn't completely live up to his billing at Clemson, but by far was he wasn't a bust by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. But he is, he's his build. He's got a really nice build. He's 6'5", 300 pounds, moves really well. He pushes the pocket really well, I think, in pass rushing, everything like that. The only negative, I guess, with him is that his 2021 tape was a lot better than his 2022 tape. But some things that you have to know, and this is people like me who kind of go the extra mile and do research because I'm different. I'm him, right? Um, you have to understand that, this past year was hard for Brian Brisset. In the last, I think, year and a half, he lost his sister. He dealt with a lot of injury stuff. So I'm sure the mental toll of last season really was getting to him and caused him to not have as good of a year, which obviously I'm not going to hold against the kid. I mean, I feel really badly for him that his sister passed away. So I'm not going to say that to him, but that's what, a lot of scouts are saying. And then, and like I just said, he did deal with some injuries and stuff. I can see him going to the Buccaneers at 19. I can see him going to Seattle at 20. They definitely need defensive tackle. I can see him going to the Vikings. That kind of 20 to 30 range, I could really see Brian Brisset going in the draft. Now, another Clemson defensive lineman, we have Myles Murphy here at 19. Myles Murphy's got good size. He's versatile with his scheme because, he's 6'5", 270, so he can play, in a 3-4. I think he can also play 4-3. Got long arms, got a really nice spin move, to be completely honest with you, and he's good against the run. He needs a better pass rushing plan. He often at times attacks offensive linemen without a plan, without, moves that he can put to memory and can kind of go and attack with. And then I think he needs to get better a little bit on the inside. Listen, I've seen him mocked as high as Atlanta to 8, which to me that makes sense. I mean, they need edge rushers, so you kind of pick whichever one, depending if Tyree and Will Anderson are gone. Pick whichever one you may like. I can see him going to the Vikings. I can see him going to Baltimore as well because they did lose Calais Campbell, so I think they want to replenish their offensive line. Next, at number 18, I've got another tackle from Ohio State, and that's Paris Johnson. 6'6", 315 pounds. It's good size for a prototypical left tackle. He's got good hips. He's athletic. He is equally good, not equally good, but he is versatile pass blocking and run blocking. Some of the other tackles on this list are one or the other. I think he's a pretty good mix of both. And I think he is very good. He's athletic enough to pull, get around guys, get to the second level. So you see like those zone running schemes. Um, I think he'll be really good for that, which is, you know, a scheme that a lot of teams run these days, right? I think sometimes he does attack with a little bit wide hands, but to me, that's not really nothing crazy. Some teams I could really see him. I honestly would not be surprised if he went number 9 to the Bears at all. I think they need a left tackle, and pairing him with a fellow Ohio State guy would be great. I could see him going to the Steelers at 17 if he falls that far, and then I could see him also going to the Commanders at 16. I think both of those teams could use offensive tackles. Next, number 17. My tight end one in this draft class, Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame, 6'4", 250 pounds. He just looks like a football player. And I think I tweeted a while ago that, the CW is about to mortgage the whole company to get this man in the next season of All-American. And I truly believe that. I mean, he just looks like a football player, right? He's nice build. He's got nice hands. He has really good hands, and he runs really good routes for a tight end. He's a very good receiving threat from a tight end position. Really good in contested catch situations. And the thing that separates him from guys like Dalton Kincaid, from Darnell Washington, well, Dalton Kincaid specifically, is that he is a much better blocker. He's like a sixth offensive lineman out there. Darnell Wright, is not the receiver that Kincaid and Mayer are, but he is a great blocker. Kincaid's a better receiver than Wright, but he's not as good of a blocker. Mayer is a good mixture of both of those guys. Not a huge yak guy. He's not gonna make you miss in the open field. He's not gonna juke you out. But again, that's really not what you need from your tight end. I can see him going, 15 to the Packers. I can see him going to the Cowboys. If he slips all the way to the end of the first round, I can definitely also see him going to the Cincinnati Bengals as well. Next, number 16. I hope you guys are enjoying this video, by the way. I love you. Number 16, Deonte Banks, the corner from Maryland. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's athletic. He's got speed, man. He ran a 4.35 at the combine. He's got good length as a cornerback. He needs to get better in run support and his tackling, but what corner doesn't? I could see him going to the Ravens, who I think need a corner outside of Marlon Humphrey. I could see him going to the Vikings. I could see him going to the Jags to pair with Campbell. Honestly, a lot of those teams in that 20 range, I can really see him falling too. Next, my cornerback 2 in this draft class, a guy that I really, really like, and a guy that, I kind of alternate between one other guy. Maybe you'll see him on this list for, the 2-3 spot. Joey Porter Jr., the corner from Penn State. Listen, long arms. He's physical. He's athletic. His dad was a NFL, Hall of Fame type player. Really, really, really like Joey Porter. One of my first round sleepers in this draft. I could see him obviously going to the Steelers because of that Joey Porter connection. I definitely could see him going to Seattle at 20. I think if he's there at 20, I think Seattle would take him. And then I think the Ravens as well. I don't think he would get past the Ravens. So anywhere in that 15 to 25 range, that's kind of the range that I think he's going to go ahead and get picked. Next, at number 14, we have Darnell Wright, the tackle from Tennessee. 6'5", 335 pounds. His biggest attribute is owning bozos on Twitter. If you've seen, he's been talking mad shit on Twitter, which that's the kind of mentality I like for my offensive tackle. I don't want some offensive tackle that's just going to get bitched on the internet. I want him to send that DM and threaten that man's life. Not really. I'm just kidding. But I do like that tough bitch mentality that Darnell Wright seems to have. Really good in pass protection, good size, good athlete. Tennessee, they threw the ball all the time. They were not run the ball last year at Tennessee, right? And to be honest with you, in the NFL these days, it's much more of a passing league, so I would prioritize pass blocking over run blocking in my offensive tackle. Darnell Wright's a very good pass protector, needs a little bit of work in run blocking, which that means that, he's not going to fit in every scheme in the NFL, but I think if he works on his run blocking, he could be a legit offensive tackle. Like I said, that run blocking is a minus, and he was switched from left tackle, the more premium position, to right tackle. So what does that mean? I mean, I think you could still take a quality right tackle in the draft. I mean, that's what the Saints did with Ryan Ramczyk. Ryan Ramczyk's been playing right tackle his whole career, and they've been completely fine. So I don't think that's that big of a deal. I would be not shocked. I would be a little surprised if the Bears took him at number 9, but I could see it. Again, I could see the Steelers at 17, and I can also see the Chargers to have a tackle opposite of Slater. Next, at number 13, the magic number for me in my life, Kalijah Kancey, the defensive tackle out of Pitt, 6'1", 280 pounds, really good pass rusher. So this is a guy that is definitely going to be playing on third downs right away. Those especially like those 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15 areas where you need to get after the quarterback. That's his specialty. He's athletic. He's really fast for a defensive tackle, and he's very productive at Pitt. He had 14 and a half sacks, 28 tackles for loss. The only downside, he's a little small. He might get pushed around in the run game a little bit, but that's all right. I could see him going to the Eagles. I could see him going to Green Bay. I could see him going to the Buccaneers. It all depends. Clyde Kancey's a bit of a wild card for me. I think most teams would regard him as defensive tackle too, but how far is the drop off from Jalen Carter is what I think a lot of teams are going to ask themselves, right? Number 12, Jackson Smith and Jigba, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. My and most people's wide receiver one as well. 6'1", about 195. Really good route runner, really good hands, really good separation. Doesn't have that kind of game breaking speed, but I think he's going to do the majority of his work in the slot regardless. So I don't think that that's such a big deal. I think that he's a prototypical wide receiver like a Cooper Kupp, maybe even like a Michael Thomas. He's not going to beat you over the top nonetheless. But I think this is a guy who's going to rack up a lot of yards. And I do plan on doing a lot of fantasy football content, and so I will talk about this more in that episode. But this is a guy that if you're in a PPR league and you get points for every catch, grab this guy. He's going to catch a lot of footballs in his career. Number 11, a guy that I have probably ranked over a lot of players just because I've seen him so much. That's Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama. I can call him a safety. You can call him a corner. You can call him defensive back. It really doesn't matter. You can play all over. Obviously, going to Alabama, played for Nick Saban. Saban DBs have a really good track record in the NFL. I don't need to go through it, but Minkah Fitzpatrick, Trayvon Diggs, Marlon Humphrey, you guys get the idea. Patrick Surtain, you guys understand how it is. Very, very good Alabama defensive backs. They ship them out. Those guys are a dime a dozen there. They ship them out. They're all really good in the NFL for the most part. Physically, really gifted, really good tacklers, versatile. Like I said, he can play in the box, he can play slot, he can play deep safety. I say this a lot, and I don't mean this in a mean way because again, I am a Seahawks fan, but he is what Seahawks fans think Jamal Adams is. He is like what Jamal Adams ideally is, right? That's what Brian Branch is. Although I think Jamal's a little bit stronger, Brian Branch is that dude as well. Number 10, Christian Gonzalez, another guy that I have mixed opinions about. And, I was making my final list today and I kind of conceded a little bit. I conceded to what the national media was saying, and my eyes were open, right? I saw God for a little bit there. And, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback from Oregon, he's long, his arms are really long. He's very athletic, really good in press coverage. And another thing that stuck out to me, and the more I'm thinking about it, the more I really, really, really like, played for Dan Lanning at Oregon. If you guys remember, he went to Colorado, transferred this last year to Oregon. Dan Lanning, who was the defensive coordinator at Georgia, won that first national championship with them, then went to Oregon. He was raving about Christian Gonzalez. I mean, the words he was saying, and, every coach raves about their players to a certain extent. That's something new. But with Dan Lanning, I think it means a little bit more because Dan Lanning has seen championship caliber defenses with championship caliber players. So for him to say this about Christian Gonzalez and speak in such a high regard about him, to me, that's really big, right? I can see him going as high as number 6 to the Lions. I can see him going number 8 to the Falcons, and I can see him going number 11 to the Titans. I think all of those teams make a lot of sense for Christian Gonzalez, who many regard as cornerback 1 in this class. So we'll see. Number 9, getting into our top 10, which we already did and I missed, but now getting into our top 10, we have Peter Skoronski, the tackle from Northwestern. He's 6'4", 313, little small to be playing tackle, a little bit, but he's got guard or tackle versatility. I like him more as a guard. This reminds me, this is probably the highest ranked guard that I've had since Quentin Nelson back in like 2017. Good pass protector, athletic, everything like that, everything you want to see. Again, I could see the Bears taking him at 9. I could see the Commanders. I could see Steelers. Those teams that really need offensive line help, I could see him going with. All right, let's get into number 8. Devon Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois. My personal cornerback 1 in this class. I love Devon Witherspoon. Maybe it's just because I live around here and I'm biased. I don't know. I just really like his game. He's physical. He's got great ball skills. Versatile. Can play man. Can play zone. He's rangy. And he ran a 4.42 in the 40-yard dash. It's a lot of fours. So many fours you can call Wendy's. That's a bar right there. Anyway, I could see him going as early as Seattle to 5. I think there's a chance that he can go to Seattle. Seattle really likes their corners, and they reportedly really like him. Detroit, I can see at number 6. That's probably what I would put my money on. And then the Falcons at number 8. I don't think he gets, at the most, I don't think he gets outside the top 15. I really don't even think he gets outside top 10. I think the Eagles might scoop him up if they had the opportunity. But, we'll see, right? Um, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has been talked about a lot in this draft. And, why not? He's athletic, the most athletic quarterback maybe ever. He's got great arm strength. He's got great physical traits. The only negatives with him, and this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to get into a little bit of a story. And this is my comparison for Anthony Richardson. And I want you guys to hear me out, right? Anthony Richardson is like a raw steak. He's like a raw steak. Now, the raw steak itself is not good, right? Right now, Anthony Richardson, not good. But when you take the raw steak and you cook it well and you baste it and you marinate it, and whether you grill it or you fry it, whichever you prefer, you have to cook it the right way so it's juicy and you don't burn it, and you have to season it, all of that stuff, all of the stuff that goes into making a steak, right? Anthony Richardson has the potential to be prime rib, perfectly rare, perfectly just a good amount of pink, juicy, flavorful kind of steak. That's what he has the potential to be. If he gets the right coaching staff, if he ends up in the right scheme, if he ends up with, quality players around him, that's what he can be. But if he ends up on a team with bad coaching, with bad scheme, that doesn't know how to develop him, it's like they left the steak on the grill for 3 days and it just burned and it's all charcoal. Or they never cooked it, or they didn't season it, or it's too pink and it's raw. You have to cook Anthony Richardson the right way. Again, he has the potential to be steak, prime rib, perfectly seasoned, perfectly basted, everything like that. You have to do it the right way. So I think some teams that could take him, I think you can go as early as number 4 to the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Seattle Seahawks also really like him at number 5. And then I think the latest he would go would be number 7 to the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, getting into number 6, Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher from Texas Tech. Build, big guy, strong guy, versatile guy. He doesn't really have the technique yet, but if you want to bank on the traits, if you want to bank on his raw power, if you want to bank on his freak athleticism, this is a guy that you would go with. And you coach him up and you make him a dominant edge rusher. He can play the run, he can play the pass, does everything well, but he needs to get more refined in his technique, right? I have heard rumors that he's going number 2 overall to the Houston Texans. At this point, that wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't be surprised if the Bears took him at if the Seahawks took him at number 5, and then I think the lowest he would go would be the Bears at number 9. If he's there at 9, I do think the Bears would take him. All right, getting into our top 5. Now these are the cream de la cream, the crop. I fucked that up. Anyway, these guys are the best of the best. These are guys I would consider all 5 of these guys blue chip prospects to a certain extent, with either minor flaws or one glaring flaw in this case that is overcompensated by everything else, right? My number 5 prospect in this draft is Jalen Carter. Now, what are the pros? The pros are everything. On the field, high motor, pass rush defense, can play inside, outside, played 3 tech, played 1 tech. Everything is good. The film is phenomenal. It's great. Why is he number 5? It's the character issues. It's the off the field issues. It's his driving capabilities, right? I thought my girlfriend drove reckless, but now I've seen Jalen Carter, and I'm a bit worried. There's been a lot of issues on his character, been a lot of concern about his character. And character is one of those things that can absolutely derail a promising NFL career. And I worry about Jalen Carter in that regard. But I will say, if Jalen Carter can keep himself on the field, I have no doubt this guy will be an all-pro caliber player. I have no doubt. If he takes care of his business off the field and can stay, engaged and be semi-coachable and everything like that and doesn't get himself in trouble, he's an all-pro caliber player. I'm just worried about the off-the-field stuff, right? Number 4, C.J. Stroud, the quarterback from OSU. Now, as time gets closer and closer and closer to the draft, I feel less and less confident about where C.J. Stroud will end up. But he's a very accurate quarterback. He's got really nice ball placement. That Georgia game was phenomenal. I mean, it was the best if you want to talk about a prospect improving their draft stock in one game, talk about CJ Stroud against Georgia. That was a phenomenal showcase of his ability as a quarterback. The only negative is that there's two negatives. He doesn't have many elite traits. His arm isn't, he doesn't have a cannon for an arm. He's not the athlete. He doesn't have like the pocket awareness of like Bryce Young. He's not, super well built. And the other negative that has come to light in recent weeks, and that is making me nervous, is the S2 test. The S2 test, and I made a video about it. You guys can go check it out. It's basically a test of your cognition skills and your quick thinking skills and your decision making skills. Bryce Young scored a 98%. CJ Stroud reportedly got an 18%. And that is very troubling to me. Very, very troubling. So we shall see. Number three, my number three overall prospect in this draft. Fuck your positional versatility. Fuck your positional value is what I meant to say. Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas, 5'11", 215, speed, athletic. He can catch. He can route run. He has great contact balance. His vision is great. This guy is one of the best players in the draft. I don't care if he plays running back. I love him. I think that the Eagles would be very smart to take him at number 10. I think maybe the Buccaneers could take him at 19. And then if he falls all the way to Buffalo, the Bills would take him in a heartbeat. Number two, I have Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Pocket presence is the best I've ever seen. I mean, this dude manipulates the pocket so well. He stays so calm under pressure. He buys himself the maximum amount of time, and he never flinches, right? His accuracy and his mobility are great attributes as well. I think his frame is a little bit worrisome. He is a bit small, but at the end of the day, we've seen small quarterbacks succeed in the NFL, so it's not a death sentence, but I just don't want him getting hit. Where's he going in the draft? He's going number 1 to the Panthers. I think that's pretty self-explanatory at this point. All right, and my number 1 prospect in the NFL draft, the true blue chip of this draft process, in my opinion, is Will Anderson. Will Anderson is 6'3.5", 250 pounds, long arms, great athlete, very productive at a big-time school in Alabama, very fast. The only negatives is that, I think the only guy to really beat him that I've seen is Darnell Wright, the pass protector from Tennessee, which we just talked about a few minutes ago. I think some teams that could take him. I would put my money on number 2 overall to the Houston Texans. I also see the Cardinals. And God forbid he falls, he is not getting past the Seahawks at number 5. So those are my top 100 prospects in the 2023 NFL Draft. I want you guys to let me know what you think of my list down below, specifically of my top 25 in this video. The draft is 6 days away. We are getting very close, so I'm very, very, very excited for the draft. You guys know I'll be keeping up with the draft content, so make sure to stay tuned. And you know what? Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. I'll be making a couple of videos this weekend, so check them out if you can. And you know what? I was kidding about that Girl Scout thing. I'm just gonna be real. I was kidding about that. So please subscribe regardless, because it would be a very nice thing to do, and you guys would see me smile a lot more. Bye. Have a nice day.